Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 6 to 7 days away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very intrigued or worried about or very curious about has all to do with the release of this movie and exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to utilize the entire film and its connection to the prequels and the originals. Now, with that being said, one aspect of The Rise of Skywalker that a lot of fans are very much on edge about with, of course, is exactly how the film is going to end, the exact final moments of the movie, and where everything lines up. And we've been talking about everything related to the third act of the film and my concerns about it and my honest criticisms about it based on what we have heard through the leaks and the spoilers of Episode 9. Now, with that being said, we do know that J.J. Abrams has a plan in place in order to make this by far the most emotional Star Wars film there really is. And that's exactly what J.J. is trying to do in the last frames of this movie. Now, with that being said, what's really interesting about this film and its fans is that this movie is very important to Disney and Lucasfilm and really will determine the future of the franchise. Now, the grand finale of the movie is by far the most important moment, now specifically shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Rey is said to begin sprinting her way out of the Palpatine's throne room that begins to collapse after destroying Palpatine, where Rey is described to now have the energy she needs after Ben Solo gave her his life force. Rey is explained to eventually make her way out of the throne room where she eventually regroups with her friends. This is where there is said to be another celebration scene similar to the one done on Endor in Return of the Jedi, where there is even a moment in which Maz Kanata rewards Chewbacca with a medal at the end of the film. Both Rey, Finn, and Poe are said to regroup where they head for a new home. This new home is said to be the world of Tatooine, where they land on the planet. The upcoming novelization is said to explain that the Force ghosts of both Luke and Leia guide Rey to this destination and specifically to where Luke was raised, and that Rey is explained to bury both the Skywalker sabers underneath the desert of Tatooine near the Lars homestead to honor the death of both Luke and Leia. Both Luke and Leia's lightsabers are then buried underneath the surface of Tatooine by Rey a couple of feet under the surface, where Rey is said to have a brand new lightsaber of her own that is described to ignite a yellow blade at the end of the movie that will take fans by surprise. Rey walks around the Lars homestead, where a villager comes out that looks similar to a young Aunt Beru and asks Rey who she is and that nobody has been around here for years. Rey is explained to call herself Rey Skywalker, where the villager smiles and Rey turns around to her friends and looks at a binary sunset as the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia watch over Rey. The Force ghosts of Luke and Leia are said to have a different design than how the Force ghosts were done in Return of the Jedi, and have a brighter color and shine in a unique way by Abrams. Both Luke and Leia are said to be smiling in the shot at Rey and her friends, and that only Rey can see the Force ghosts. So let's go over a couple of parts about all of this. Now, in case you guys did not know, the grand finale of The Rise of Skywalker is going to be a big deal, because this is going to be the exact moment in which a lot of fans are either going to like how the Skywalker saga ends or dislikes how the Skywalker saga ends. As far as my point of view on this, I really do have a big issue with this of Rey calling herself a Skywalker, just because by taking the name of the Skywalker family and how she calls herself that. That's my biggest problem with the very end of Episode 9 in the final frames, and the fact that it's the entire meaning of the title of this movie, I think is something that's going to really annoy a lot of fans around the world, because let's face it, there's a lot of casual fans going into this movie believing the rise of Skywalker has something to do with either Luke or Leia or somebody around those lines, or maybe even Kylo Ren or Anakin Skywalker, but it has nothing to do with the Skywalker family in any way, shape, or form. It all has to do with Rey taking that Skywalker name. Now, let's go on over to the lightsabers. Now, there's said to be a moment in the film where Rey actually buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers as a way of honoring both Luke and Leia as her masters who taught her through the ways of the Force. Even though I feel that Rey got little to no training in The Last Jedi, it makes no sense at all. And even in this movie, Rey is going to get 1 day of training with Leia. And yeah, sure, there was a gap between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker 1 year specifically, and Leia could have been teaching her for a year. But even that, right? The fact that Rey has learned so easily about the ways of the Jedi and the Force, it just seems a little unrealistic to how Luke Skywalker learned the ways. Far more many years worth than Rey. So, moving on forward, about her burying the lightsabers, that's essentially Luke and Leia's grave on Tatooine. So, I can understand some people out there may like that, or some people out there may not like that. You know, a lot of people are going to have different opinions on that. But I think that for the majority, a lot of fans really are going to dislike the Rey Skywalker thing. I think that's just a given. Because the title in itself really is kind of making people think it suggests otherwise, that it has something to do with Luke or Anakin. You know, the name Skywalker is in the title of the last Skywalker saga film. You would expect it to be something with Luke, Anakin, or maybe even Kylo Ren, but it's not. So, moving on from this, the new lightsaber, this is where I begin to get a little confused. Is like, where and exactly how did Rey come up with the ability to make her very own lightsaber and craft it of her own? Now, there's a possibility that the time on Tatooine serves as an epilogue, basically where there's a little bit of a time jump at the very end of Episode 9 where they find a new home. Now, this could mean that their time on Tatooine could take place a month after the defeat of the new Sith Empire. They could actually have an epilogue like that where, you know, it jumps a couple of months, maybe even a year for all we know, into where we have our new heroes and Rey, you know, pretty much on their journey and going along the ways throughout peace and justice throughout the entire galaxy. And she finally finds Tatooine, and she has a new lightsaber and honors the Skywalkers by burying the old sabers. Now, if it's not that, how did she build a brand new lightsaber so fast? It's said to ignite a yellow blade, which is going to be something new and something I think unexpected for a lot of fans out there. It seems like that this is JJ's way of teasing what could have been, what Rey could have done at the very beginning of this movie. I feel that that is yet another gotcha moment, right? Where, oh, Rey's got a new lightsaber, oh, cut the black, you know. So when we look at Rey, I think that what they should have actually done is have Rian Johnson not destroy the Skywalker saber. They could have done that, and it could have survived in one piece in its original form and not actually get repaired by Rey in The Rise of Skywalker. Anakin's saber could have fallen to the hands of Ben, and the new saber at the very beginning of The Rise of Skywalker could have already been developed. That would have made more sense because there's 1 year. Alright, 1 year in between Episode 8 and 9. Rey could have developed the saber in between. Now, of course, JJ could explain that she had a secret saber in the background, for all we know, or a backup saber, something around those lines. That's a possibility, too. The other piece that I do want to go over that seems like it is a remake of Return of the Jedi is there is a celebration scene at the very end of Episode 9. And of course there would be. You know, why wouldn't there be, right? But it's the way it's done that's actually said to be very similar to the celebration on Endor. You know, the way how you have all the characters combining together and celebrating. I'm not quite sure exactly where it takes place, that we don't know, but we do know that there is a celebration at the very end of the film, and there's even a moment in which Maz Kanata actually gives Chewbacca a medal. Kind of like a little callback, I guess, to Star Wars A New Hope, something similar like that. It sounds a little strange to me, but okay. But everything else, like I say, I mean, the whole Rey Skywalker thing, I think is going to really tick a lot of people off there. I think a lot of fans around the world are going to have issues with that. I think that's, you know, a given. There's no question about it. So yeah, we're just waiting for, you know, what all the fans around the world have to say about this movie once it releases on the 19th of next week. We don't have much longer to wait, and it's going to be quite an interesting ride for the next couple of days until the film actually releases into theaters where we can witness it for ourselves. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.